That book is about a young girl named Paige. All she wants for Christmas is a playful Polly doll, wants nothing else. Gets all these wonderful gifts, rips them up, and then she gets the doll. It's all she ever wanted. And it's a book about a single mom. And the mom has also made for her a teddy bear. Now, it's not the prettiest thing. It's not as pretty as Playful Polly, but she gives it to her anyway. And it kind of just, you know how kids are. They just kind of drop it on the floor, and they go off and they play with something else. It was all about Playful Polly, and Mom's upset. And so Paige doesn't understand why Mom's so upset about this. So they go together to a homeless shelter, and they help out the people in need. And she meets a young girl who all she has is this really dirty teddy bear, ripped up, stained, and she doesn't understand why that particular bear is so precious to that little girl. And so she realizes that it's not about that exterior or the status of it, but it's rather that it was given to her in love and from the heart. So she goes home and realizes, Mom made me this beautiful teddy bear, and I need to treasure that more. And so she wants to help out this little girl from the homeless shelter. So the teddy bear that the little girl from the shelter is missing, it's its ear. So Mom and her help to sew up the ear and give her a new doll. And so they go back to the shelter, they give her the teddy bear, and she realizes that the best gifts of all come from the heart, not from necessarily the toy store.
I want you to comment or elaborate just a bit. You have been a pastor's wife for quite some time, and wanted you to just share with our listeners how that position to which God has called you, very, very important role, really informs how you communicate, what you write.
It's a really good question. I've always had a heart for the church. That's where my heart lies. For me, as a part of my testimony, I grew up Catholic and wanted more from faith, and started going to church, a Christian church, and my parents were not all that accepting of that, and I was thrown out of my house when I was 20 for becoming a Christian. And so for me, the church has always been my family, and so I always write with them in mind, the seasoned Christian especially, but the churchgoer, the Christian, has always been in the forefront of my mind. That's where a lot of my articles come from. A lot of my books are for, particularly for women, but for men and women who are Christian, and particularly those who have been in ministry for a long time, because I understand what that's like. And so for me, that's what really kind of perpetuates what I write all the time. So I'm always thinking about the Christian and what they're going through and how I can help and how I can speak into their lives.
Well, you mentioned the book, The Best Gift of All. And, we recognize that, well, all of us as human beings, this is something that is germane to all ages, really, that we tend to put our eyes on ourselves, that we that's a daily struggle to really focus on Christ rather than to seek our own gratification. And so when we see that the church is called, and this is such a great message for children, to learn to take their eyes off themselves, to really condition them as they grow up to be able to be more aware of the world around them and the needs around them. I mean, even as adults, it's important for the church to continually be reminded the purpose for which we were put here, and that is to glorify Christ, to serve other people. How do you see that the church and those that communicate to the church really can carry that message as far as taking our eyes off of ourselves?
Sure. I think it starts small. I think we underestimate the power of a small gesture. So I think even the smallest act of kindness can really help promote the message of Jesus to both the lost and to someone who's struggling within the church. And I also think when we use our spiritual gifts, I think spiritual gifts are so vital within the church body, but I think that also can translate out into our communities, into the world. I think when we understand the importance of equipping each other within the church body, then we go out and then we change the world through it. So I think understanding who we are, how we're wired, how God's gifted us, and then being willing to equip each other, whether that's through a gift of encouragement or through teaching a Bible study, however the church chooses to do that. When we choose to become a part of that, we not only fulfill our role and our purpose of using our gifts for God's glory, but then we also equip others. And then they go out into the world and people see that lives are changed and lives are transformed because of that. And so I think it starts small within the local church, and then it can kind of span out into our community and then ultimately our world.